Right, so right now, let's move on to our next agenda, ladies and gentlemen. And for this one, we have a very special presentation. He will share with you about this new exciting insight in the 5G technology through blockchain. And here, ladies and gentlemen, here to talk about the 5G light revolution of communication, please put your hands together for Mr. Felix Mago. I'm sorry. Sorry, Mr. Felix.
Ladies and gentlemen, hello again. I'm very excited to stand in front of you today and announce a new project we have been a little bit secretly developing, and really it's the first time anyone hears about it. It's about 5G, decentralization of data. So you probably all know we're in exciting times, and me personally, I'm traveling all the time. I'm every month at a new country, at some blockchain conferences. And obviously, every time I arrive, for example, here in KL, I love the people, I love the crowd. And one reason for that is that obviously everybody in the world already works in blockchain. Everybody knows what decentralization is, what the tokenization of the world means. We live in our little bubble, right? So then I go home, I leave planet blockchain, I land back to planet Earth at home. And honestly, always the reference for like what is going on around the world is when I have a phone call with my parents and try to explain them what I do, and they usually look at me and like, what the hell are you talking about, boy? I'm a little bit scared of your profession and what you're doing. So this is like for me coming back to Earth and coming back to reality. But one thing I really can talk about right now with everybody is the fact that we live in a digital world. We are growing a digital economy. There's like data all around us. I think now everybody has heard of the word data is the new gold. And of course, the media, mass media, mainstream media is talking about it a lot, right? And probably all of you have heard about 5G and mobile technology and increasing data by now. There's many reasons for that and many drivers to essentially accelerate that media coverage and that discussions we have about it. One of them, of course, is autonomous driving. I think most of you have seen these cars around, and in fact, it's already a reality, right? These cars are driving around. Mercedes just pushed out that car, so you can, in fact, do autonomous driving, right? I mean, it started beeping. If you don't put your hands on the steering wheel after 30 seconds, nonetheless, it's there. It's a fact already now. But it's not only cars, data-hungry cars, of course, but it's also connected devices everywhere, right? So there's even toys, teddy bears, hooked up to the internet, communicating. You can upload stuff, you can tell stories, and maybe you have heard of the joke, IoT is, Internet of Things is, when your fridge is starting mining bitcoins to pay the gambling debts of your toaster. So we are in an age where it's all present, right? Everybody's heard about it, and we need data in order to make it happen. If you look at the evolution of what is happening since, I would say, like something like 1995, 1998, I personally had my first mobile phone in 1997. It was like this little beautiful Nokia device, and I was very, very proud of it. And it had like this GSM button with essentially no function back in the time, where like, okay, you can write an email, but like, what is that, right? And so I would say it's really started taking off with the first iPhone in 2006, where suddenly we had like a use of data, a new usage of our mobile phones, right? And if you look at that, obviously the speed increased over time of how we can use these mobile devices, right? Whereas in 1997, when you had like a VOP device, this was essentially impossible to do, to send a picture, right? Because it was just too slow. By now, we're at 4G. Everybody probably has it. You can look at your telephone and you will see that. By now, we are now talking about 5G, right? And it's like an increase of speed. And we need this increase of speed in order to make it happen, what I just told you, right? With autonomous cars, with Internet of Things. I mean, imagine a car driving around, how much data they produce per second, essentially, right? They have to check where is the traffic light, do I have to stop, blah, 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 blah. So now, obviously, the answer must be 5G, right? We need it, it's there already, and since we have already autonomous cars driving around and Internet of Things all around us, of course we have 5G already, right? But is it really there? And why are we still discussing about it, right? I'm German, you might have heard that already. And especially in Germany, I was recently in Berlin last month, in the middle of Berlin, taking out my telephone, and I have edge, right? I went to the train, I go to the countryside, especially Eastern Germany is still a big of a problem. You will not have any internet there. You go out, it's like, oh my God, what is happening here, right? We're in a super developed country, we think we are top of the world, top notch, yet you go out and there is no internet. So what is the reason for that, and why is that? Maybe it has to do with the range of the antennas and the range of the infrastructure network we have. So I want to ask you a couple of questions. Please bear with me. So who thinks that 5G antennas have a broader range or a further range than 4G antennas? Who think 5G can send more a broader range than a 4G antenna? Hands up. No one? Who thinks 4G antennas have the wider range? Yeah, I'm suggesting, okay, but come on guys, raise your hands. It's already 11:30. All right, I have a second question for you. Who thinks, okay, nobody raised your hand, but let me ask you. How far do you think can these antenna broadcast? 20, 50, or 100 kilometers, right? Who thinks a 4 or 5G antenna can broadcast 20 kilometers? Hands up. Who thinks 50? Who thinks 100? Okay, so between 50 and 100, I think is the majority. I'm stuck here. Okay, so I tricked you. It's not 20, it's not 50, and it's not 100. It's 1 to 2 kilometers for a 4G antenna. And guess what? It gets even worse with a 5G antenna, and there's your answer why we're still so far away from this digital economy we really talk about. A 5G antenna has a range of around 250 to 300 meters, right? So imagine, in order to make all this crazy new future happen, what we're all talking about, and we all think it's already there yet, we are so far away, right? Because just the infrastructure is not in place yet, and we're still discussing about it. How can we make it happen? And imagine, like, to make it happen, every 300 meters you have to put an antenna to really get that coverage and that speed we're all talking about. So this is our solution. Looks a little bit Star Wars-ish, and I'm very proud of it. I think it's a very nice thing. Our solution is we don't need antennas anymore. Our solution is just we make routers, and they are our antennas, right? We just put a router in your home, and everybody putting the router in home, essentially establishing a network to make this future happen. At the end of the day, our vision is that it looks like that. People have a router at home, and by having a router at home, you really make this 5G revolution happening, because you yourself in your living room can be part of that infrastructure we all need to make this future happen. And in contrast to what is happening right now, which is essentially like a very centralized model of big companies setting up antennas and creating this infrastructure, we twist it around. And there we come back to blockchain, there we come back to decentralization. We use everybody. We don't want these centralized entities to make it happen, right? Because this client-server structure, this same old centralized economy is not what we want, and it's not the way we can roll out fast and we can get there as fast as we want. So what we are doing is distributing it to everybody and making like a decentralized network of making 5G happen. And by doing that, of course, we are able to provide all these services we need, the autonomous cars, the Internet of Things. We provide the infrastructure all these devices need in order to do what they're supposed to do. And the last thing I want to mention is that it's not only about the infrastructure and not only about sending data. By doing this, essentially, we are creating a network where blockchain is the base layer technology, and by having blockchain, we, by essence of the technology, have a way more safer and secure infrastructure. And one more thing we add to this, we can not only broadcast, but we can also store data, and we can have a distributed data storage on these routers. Because what we did with this new hardware, which is coming up, is that we put a hard disk in there, and everybody can contribute to a decentralized server system, right? Which is then in contrast to AWS and all the big players we all know about. So it's exciting times, and it's coming up. It's brand new. You are the first to ever hear about it, and I'm quite sure you will hear a lot about it in the future with our new 5glite technology. Thank you for joining, and I want to put up Edward on stage as well with me. Because if you have any questions, please just approach us. Thank you for listening. Thank you, Edward.